Good morning, everyone. Brian here with BMK Retro Gaming. This morning I just have yet another quick unboxing video for you guys. A package arrived yesterday from my friend Scott Gull, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think this makes 6 since this channel got started from him. Actually, considering how busy my channel has been with unboxing videos as of late, and this month particularly, not to mention the fact I was hoping to give you guys at least a short break between now and between yesterday and Saturday, I almost have to wonder with this timing whether Scott is not trying to give literal meaning to the phrase "no rest for the wicked." Not that I'm ungrateful. Just I don't think we've had much of a break here lately. In any case, here it is from him to me. From Scott Gull in Huntley, Illinois, as usual. And, well, this one happened to be a pretty big one. First up, we have a loose copy of the Atari 5200 Gorf port, which, until I get finished getting my Atari 5200 modified, I won't be quite testing, but I've seen in reviews and all that this is considered an excellent port of the game. Excuse me. Next up, Air Raiders for the Atari VCS 2600. This is pretty good. It's one of the few M-Network games Mattel put out that does not, in fact, I think the only one that doesn't have an Intellivision counterpart. So they developed and published this specifically for the Atari VCS 2600 for whatever reason. Next up, the Atari VCS 2600 Donkey Kong Jr. port. This is, it's not the very greatest port of the game, I wouldn't say, but there is a fair deal of fun to be had with it. And next, Circus Atari for the Atari VCS 2600. This is a pretty fun paddle game, once you get into it. I haven't played around with the paddle controller games a whole lot up to this point, but I'll have to take a look into it after a bit. And next is Vanguard for the Atari VCS 2600. Scott actually sent me a copy of this game sometime before, but that was during a period where he wasn't really testing everything quite so thoroughly. And it turned out that that copy did not work. Well, like all the others, except for the Atari 5200 Gorf, I've tested this, and it does work, so nice to finally get a working copy. May not be the world's greatest game, but Vanguard is pretty nice. Next up, we have Atari VCS 2600 Grand Prix port. Well, not port, I guess. I think it was just an original title. Exclusive, but anyway, it's a very sweet little racing game. And despite the, one of the things that kind of surprised me is you'd think that this would be one game which would use the driving controller, but it tells you that to use the joystick controller, interestingly. Next we have, from Mattel's M-Network, Space Attack. This is pretty similar to what you call, I think it's either Space Battle, Space Spartans, whichever. I think they made about 3 or 4 different versions over time of that same game with improvements. I have not figured out on this one yet. It'll probably take looking up some instructions to get down on, but I am going to enjoy it once I do. I like games like that. Next up, the Atari VCS 2600 Blackjack. Which, interestingly enough, I tried all the others. I got to work with my Hyperkin Retron 77 and didn't have to throw into original hardware. This one I couldn't get working without original hardware, which, being such a mundane title and all, you'd think that it wouldn't have been any problem, but for some reason this one wanted to be stubborn. In any case, excuse me again, we'll have to check it out later on. Next up, the Atari VCS 2600 Fast Eddie. This is supposed to be a fairly good game. And you can see the label is not the absolute best, but Scott knows how I am, you know. It doesn't matter as much as long as it happens to be a working, playable game, though. If it looks a bit nicer, that's nice, but I don't worry about it as much. Next up, Atari VCS 2600 Indy 500. That little top label could use a little bit of a glue stick that's non-toxic to it at some point if I get around to it. Yes, there are those that you can use which will potentially let you get these back in good order if you want. Oh well, again, aesthetics, looks, not the most important part to me. And finally, last but not nearly least, we have the Atari VCS 2600 Keystone Kapers port. This is also a good game. And anyone who has played around with the Activision games, either back in the day or recently, would know that. I do, even though I haven't played Keystone Kapers a whole lot. It is one of those games that you can really get into. I think just putting this one in and checking it out for a test run, I scored over 5,000 points in one small game, so it's one that you can get into quick. Anyhow, those are what I ended up getting from Scott, and by the way, these days he does test everything before sending it as requested. Though I'm still more than partially convinced that he probably tells me he does, but who knows if he does or doesn't. I don't care. But I'm going to bug him about it anyway, because I prefer not to get non-working junk, if I can avoid it. All my friends have sent me stuff and all I ask that of, so. Anyway, I figured you guys might like to see the contents of this little box before I got done with all the rest of it. Anyway, we'll get around to some reviews on all of them later on. In any case, that's about 11 games that Scott sent me at one time, so thank you again, Mr. Scott Gull. Your generosity obviously doesn't know many bounds. Of course, fortunately, these would be duplicates he got. I told him repeatedly, don't ever send me something directly from your own personal collection. I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't feel great about getting anything that way from anybody, so one has to see to one's own personal collection. Anyway, if you guys enjoy my channel's content, please like, share, and subscribe. And please don't hesitate to leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down in the comment section below. You guys take care, have a good morning, and I will see you again in my next video.